Hi and welcome to RC Copter Love. Today I'm talking about a topic many RC pilots don't even take into their mouth. It's crashing. Many people say it's part of the hobby, and it is. If you fly, you will crash. You think this helicopter looks good? Take a second look. The main shaft was breaking and the tail fin was breaking. The reason? Stupidness of the pilot, me. I was flying in very windy conditions and I was tempted to fly very, very low. So I was flying close to the ground. The skids even were ripped away. This one part was ripped away. I already replaced the skids. But I didn't have a main shaft for the M2 Evo. I had to order it. Now it arrived. So I will have to change it and I will have to check the spindle. I will have to change the tail fin. For God's sake, I still have some old tail fins because I changed some of my M2s or two of my M2s to scale models, and from them I have some parts, so I don't have them in stock. I don't have many parts in stock because fortunately I'm crashing very few. I do my best not to crash, and because of this and doing this, I learn so much. I have so many, let's say, let's name it bailout strategies. I have so many strategies how to avoid a near crash. And I'm sometimes having the feeling that I am learning most in these situations that are causing kind of panic because you feel something is going out of control, but in the last second you see, the model is here and I have to do this and I have to go up. I always recommend to avoid crashes to go up if you are not under a bridge or something or under a tree. So go up and you have some more time to save the helicopter. But this time I was too low and I was too confident. So I was very confident because I'm a bit strange. I love to fly in strong winds with my M2 helicopters because they are unbelievable capable. So you can really fly almost in a storm. The biggest problems I sometimes have on the field is that my bags are flying around, the bags with the foam cases, and I have to run after them on the field to find them, but this time it was too late. So the main shaft was breaking. There was the hole for the screw that holds the whole rotor head. It might be that this saved me from more damage because it looks as if the rotor head itself is somehow intact. So the blades did not get scratched, the tail is not bent, so it can be, but I'm happy, but I just have to change this main shaft. Maybe I don't have to change the spindle, but I want to tell you, if it happens and you crash, it's terrible. I don't like this moment, nobody likes this moment. And it's terrible when you see your loved machine with hanging parts or without parts, without this tail fin. But it's somehow really it belongs to this hobby. It's part of it, and I have learned many lessons. This time I have learned I was flying centimeters over the ground, and that not in hovering. No, I was flying very, very fast. And I did a mistake that I was doing too many things at the same time. So I was going sideways. I was in a kind of funnel. So I was with nose down in a nose down funnel upright. And going a little bit sideways, the wind was bringing the helicopter down, and maybe they were missing 2 centimeters. I don't know, I didn't measure it, but it was very close. It was flat. It was on a flat space, so there was no grass or something, so I could really fly over the flat surface, and because of this part of the skids was ripped away. They are very strong and durable. You can really smash this helicopter on the skids when they are ripped away. This is really strong impact. So what I have learned in this concrete case, I should not fly so low in strong winds, because the wind can really affect the helicopter faster than you can react, or I can react. And so this was a lesson I learned. The other lesson I told you last week, I told you about this helicopter. It's still, you see, it's bleached here. This canopy is less pink on one side than the other, because it was lying there. Even the yellow of the motor is bleached out by the sun, but the helicopter is working until today. But in this, the background of this crash was that I was flying in the dark. So almost not in the dark, but I was flying when there was very few light. The sun was going down. I wanted so much to fly because it was raining in the morning and in all afternoon, and suddenly in the evening the rain stopped. I went out to the field and I wanted so much to fly, and I was flying, and in the last battery it was too dark, but I was of course full of confidence, and I wanted to try a front flip in front of trees with very few visibility, or it was a roll, and I probably took out the roll movement too fast, and the helicopter was lying on the side. So I learned the lesson: if it's too late, I better pack my things, even if I have the strongest need to fly. I paid hard for this lesson because I was searching for these 2 weeks. I was 3 days searching in a row, as you know, and I was finally finding it. That was a hard price, so this lesson is learned. Another thing, I crashed with my M1. It's still not repaired because probably the feathering shaft is bent. I found out a method. Now it doesn't want to work. It works. If you put on pressure on the blade grips, and this part of the rotor head, the middle part that is connecting the main rotor head, moves, it's a very big possibility that the spindle or the feathering shaft is bent, and it's never a lot. I once had a feathering shaft bent in the way that you were seeing it with the eye, and it was looking like this. So that was extremely, but even the slightest bend can cause vibrations, and these vibrations can cause that the tail rotor is getting hot and finally burns. So it is much cheaper to change the spindle. So I have to do it with this model because I'm having a wobble in this model and vibrations. So it is not. I don't need it at the moment because the M1 is, for me, I'm a little bit maybe special. Oh, and I see one servo arm went out. Okay, I didn't see this even. So I will do it because it's more an indoor flyer for me. I love flying in my house, so I'm very careful and I'm able to fly very precise, and I'm checking everything before I'm flying inside. But if it's raining, if it's in the winter, the weather is very bad, there's snow, cold, wind, and so on. Too many factors which don't make flying outside attractive or possible. I fly these small birds. And I have another thing found. I check my main shafts while spooling up in normal mode, when you have something like this, that you don't have a fixed pitch curve. Very, very slowly I take off the tail rotor and I touch the main shaft with my fingernail, and if you feel something like brrrr, it's bent for 100%. If it's very smooth, so it's okay. So these are my simple methods to check it. But my message to you is don't be too afraid in front of crashing. It is really part of the hobby, and I tell you why. That's the luxury we have as model pilots. We can risk a lot. We can try wildest things. We can fly very close to the ground in a very strange way. If somebody wants, he can fly inverted. You can never do this with a full-size helicopter. We can do loops, and this all so close to the ground that pilot for a full-size machine would never do such things if he's not a self-murder, because if he crashes, the possibility to die is very high. So we can all do this stuff, and we just have some small repair jobs. I had to order this, we order parts. They are not too expensive in my case. I'm flying only OMP hobby models. So they have really cheap parts. Many parts are sacrificial parts that they are meant to break, like the servo horns and so on. So it is really easy. I don't like working on the helicopters. I'm a special guy. I know that many helicopter pilots are crazy for all kind of repair jobs. They even enjoy builds. I enjoyed the build of my M4. You know the build video of this machine, and you know the video of my maiden flight. But I have to be honest, with this helicopter, I'm still flying very, very careful because it reacts different. It has other dynamics. I feel the mass, and although this helicopter has huge rotor blades, I know that the relation rotor blade weight, it weighs about 1 kilogram and 350 grams versus 335 grams in this case. So the difference of the rotor between the rotor length is not so big like the difference in weight. So I know the dynamics are different. I feel the centrifugal force different, and I'm not so. I get more and more to grips with this helicopter, and I'm flying very high. It's so huge. The M4 is so big that it has the huge advantage that I can see it far away and very high in the air. So I have trust to my transmitter and to my receiver. So I'm flying much far away, but I definitely don't want to crash this one. The same is with my scale models. I'm flying more conservative with my scale models because it would be just a shame. Already the scale fuselage costs fuselage. That's a terrible word for a German. It costs a lot, and if you crash such a helicopter like my EC 145 I showed you, or in one of the next videos will be my huge 300, it would be just a pity because they break easy. These fuselages have different parts that can break away, and all things I want to learn, or I want to do new things. For me once it was a new thing to do roll, and it was a horrible experience when I wanted to start rolls because I was crashing many helicopters. The same was with loops. Much too early, after a couple of months, I wanted to try loops, and I went home on one day with 2 crashed M1s and 1 crashed M2. So that was a horrible day, and I would never recommend to do such mistakes because these mistakes are really avoidable. I learned this lesson again. I was not good enough in all orientations to suddenly see my helicopter upside down or I did not. I was not perfect in the time when to finish the loop. That's one thing in flips, loops, and rolls. It's the most important. The timing, that you stop the move. If the helicopter was turned down, that you really stop it. That's not here or there or on the side, like with this poor M2V2. So you just have to go step by step, and you have to listen to your intuition to avoid such stupid 3 crashes on one day. That was really stupid and unnecessary, but I think it's not really possible to avoid crashing in total. So you have to find, I think every pilot has to find some kind of balance. You have to have enough confidence until you do or enough practice until you do the next step, but you have to feel when you do the next step, because when you never start risking something new, when I would have never tried these rolls, I'm doing them now in forward flight, so I'm doing big barrel rolls in forward flight. I would not know how this feels, but I was crashing a lot. So it was a little bit too early. The same is with loops. I love to do loopings, loops in looping in German, but I was trying it too soon. So you have to have a kind of balance. It's like in real life. You should not fear risk, because when you risk something, you can win everything or a lot of things. But when you risk something in total stupid situations, that means if you are not able, or if your abilities are just too poor, taking the risk would be just kind of stupid. So you have to know the moment in which you can take the next step, and you should not wait too long, because you reduce the progress you make. And it's part of the progress, and it's also part of life, like in real life. Difficult situations, going out of your comfort zone brings you sometimes so much forward. So if you are really in a situation for which you are not really prepared, you sometimes mobilize so many power. That's what I'm talking about. That was what I was talking about when I'm avoiding crashes. So when something helicopter goes somewhere different, somewhere else where I didn't plan behind me. That's always a mistake, because you should never fly behind yourself. But it happened, and I still managed to bring it somehow back. These are moments in which you are learning a lot. You don't know exactly what you did, because you have to do it so fast, but that's exactly what you have to do sometimes in life as well. You have to react fast when you have avoid a car accident. You have to make decisions, difficult decisions. If you hit a barrier, or if you hit a car, or if you hit a person, you have to make these decisions in a fraction of a second, and you have to execute the decision. So this is a fantastic thing, but you have to have some kind of feel for this, for what you are ready. Now I feel with my M4, I'm doing normal flying. So I'm flying around, I'm flying figure eights, I'm flying funnels even, I'm flying very wide hurricanes, I'm doing some kind of stall turns. But I'm doing normal flying. I'm at the moment not trying any flips or rolls. Some people could laugh about me. I think it's good. I don't want to get frustrated, because it's such a beautiful model. I was putting so much love and work and time in the build of this model, and I know I'm not totally stupid. I know if I crash this one, it's not the same like crashing the M1, where almost nothing will happen. So because alone the blades, I think, will break every time they touch the ground. The tail boom, I don't know, the whole system with a belt-driven tail. many things can break on this machine, and I just don't want to do it in a stupid way. So I want to fly this machine as I am flying, as I was flying in the beginning with my M2s. So I did the loops too early with this machine. I think this will be much faster, the process, until I'm doing the first loops and rolls with this M4. But I feel that I'm not ready yet. I'm not experienced enough. I want to know every flight situations 10 or 100 times until I go to the next step. So this is what I was talking about. You have to feel the balance. You have to risk, but you have to know when to risk. Not too late. If I would fly, I don't know, 3 months with this M4, just conservative figure eights, hovering circles, funnels, hurricanes, that would be a waste of time, because this fantastic machine, I see in all the videos of the 3D pilot what this machine is capable. So it's no problem for the machine, but it's the problem for me. So it reacts slower than these smaller birds, than the M2. And I don't want that this machine looks much worse than this one, because it was really breaking my heart when I saw this machine down on the ground. I love the M2 Evo. It's the next step of this M2 V2, which I love as well. I love to fly them in exchange, one after another, one with the M2 V2 and one flight with the Evo. So it's like in real life. Difficult situations, problems are there to be solved, and that's the most important. How we react on a difficult situation, it can bring us down, turn us down, so that we are completely demotivated. There are people that were selling their helicopters. I was last 2 weeks ago, I was on a show, on an open day on a model field, but it was only airplanes. I was flying with my M4 there. I had terrible stage fright, so I will make a video about this experience. It was strange, but there were, I think, at least 8 or 9 fixed-wing pilots were coming to me and were asking me how I learned to fly helicopters. They all wanted to learn to fly helicopters. They bought themselves some Align helicopters, some others. It was sometimes years ago, and they said they were only crashing with these machines. They felt it's not for me, and they sold the machines or threw them away, even in the worst case. So they were really full of appreciation for a helicopter pilot. And you have to have patience with yourself. You have to live with it. Meanwhile, I had 43 crashes. I noted them all. You can laugh about this, but I want somehow to keep track. The same as I'm noting the flights I'm doing. I just write a number, for instance, 10 batteries, M2. That's all. This is in an edit. I how is it called when you put all these numbers together again? For instance, 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. So, and I count how much I'm flying. I count how much I was crashing. So relation is, I think, very good. I'm now have many thousand flights behind me, many thousand batteries I was flying, and these 43 crashes, that was the 43rd, unfortunately. It should not take away the fun, because it would be sad. So I was doing stupid things. I learned my lesson, and you should look at this way. Every time you learn a lesson. So I learned the lesson that I don't have to start the next step too early. It might be the same with the M4. I could try to do fancy things. I mean, for a 3D pilot, a loop or a roll or flips and front flips, side flips, that's rolls, is nothing special. But for me, it's something special because I'm only flying 2 years, so I don't want that this helicopter looks like one of these. And this is what I want to tell you. It's a part of the hobby, but you should not provocate it. I try, and I'm proud, I try to avoid crashes as much as a full-size pilot. I'm fighting until the very end, but sometimes I'm too crazy. I'm willing to take too much risk. I'm flying too low in too much wind. I love to fly in wind. I'm a little bit crazy with this. I'm flying when really my bags are flying around and people are looking at me, dog walkers. They think they don't believe their eyes that such a small heli like the M2 is flying in such wind conditions when the hats are flying around and everything, and even my chairs with my bags are sometimes blown away. And one of these things, interesting things in flying is I had many times magical moments where something was suddenly working. I was working on it a very, very long time and it did not work. But suddenly it made click. I named this magic, or it's named magical click, and it worked. And believe me or not, very often this was a very windy day, so that means there were difficult conditions. It was not the easiest, the best day for flying. The opposite was the case. But I was very concentrated because if you fly in wind, you have to be fast like hell because the wind is all the time putting some effect. Sometimes you see even very well. I love to hover in front of me, nose in all directions, and I see how the helicopter is tilted to one side. The wind is coming from here, and the helicopter is tilted almost like this. Then I'm tilting him this way. Then I'm tilting him this way. Then I'm tilting him this way, and you have to do all these when you are making very slow periods in high winds. You have to do all these transitions through the different orientations and the counter actions against the wind. You have to do this all the time. So it's a permanent process, and I'm doing it counterclockwise and counterclockwise and clockwise. So this is just fascinating. If you can do it, you should not do this too early. I would not recommend it because it could lead to crashes, unnecessary crashes. But as I say, you have to feel the moment when you are ready. You should not wait longer because this will move away your progress and slow down your progress. But you should not do things too early. And you should know what not to do again. So I remember when I got this M2 Evo, I had, shortly after it, I had a stupid crash. I was flying, I was flying in a new spot. So there were standing some trees, and that they had branches, leaves with leaves. They were full. It was summer. So it was full with leaves, and I was flying in a spot where I didn't see my Evo anymore because it was hidden behind a tree. So this is of course so stupid. I was not estimating the radius of a turn, and I went too wide. So I went out of my sight. And I didn't see the helicopter, panicked a little bit, and bam, I was lying. And I was too low, of course, like always. Low flying is very, very tempting. And that's, as I told you, it's the difference between the full-size pilots and us. We can fly low, we can crash, and we are standing, we are going happy and unhappy. We are going unhappy home, but we have to do some repair jobs, some parts, and go on. Full-size pilot better thinks what he's doing because it might be his last mistake. So keep on, never give up, learn from your mistakes, make an analysis. after every crash, what was the reason? The worst thing is if you don't know what happened. That isn't good. But if you are able to name what was the cause, you know how to avoid it. And the crashes will be less and less. Of my 43 crashes, of which I'm not proud, the first, I would say at least 25 or even 29 or 30 were happening in the first 2 months. So I was beginning in March 2021, and in May I had already 30 crashes. So I was never close to giving up. I was sad, I was sitting along a long time repairing my helis. I was flying a Blade 230S. Oh, don't ask, this helicopter was crashing very many times, and it was not easy to repair it because it had a main gear and so on. That was almost to be changed every time. Then I started with these OMP machines, and it got less and less. So I'm now flying 2 years and a couple of months, I don't know, 3-4 months, and have many thousand flights under my belt, and I'm crashing very seldom. One thing is, after every crash I have to build up a little bit the confidence, but it's also good because I don't want to have right away the next crash. So it's giving me some kind of damper, so I'm a little bit more careful for some days. And then I forgot that I was crashing, and I'm going on like normally. Okay, this was it for today, and I thank you for watching. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you want to subscribe please, and activate the bell symbol for the, how is it called in YouTube language? That you get information when I have the next video, and hope to see you again. Okay, bye.